Welcome to episode 4 of the Josh Kane Presidential Fireside Chat. We are on James Madison, our 4th president, elected in 1808, served 2 terms. He ended up having 2 vice presidents. They both died in office. First term was George Clinton, not that George Clinton, and the other guy was Elbridge Gerry. So both of them died in office, and at that time you just didn't replace, and I may have already mentioned this, but it's like 37 years without a vice president in that country's history. Kind of interesting. 2 states added under Madison, Louisiana and Indiana. So we're already starting to see the split, a trade-off between a slave state and a non-slave state, right? So we have the balance of the Senate, right? So obviously Madison, one of our big founding fathers, helped write the Federalist Papers with Alexander Hamilton and John Jay. He plagiarized the U.S. Constitution, according to me, from John Adams, Massachusetts Constitution. And he was handpicked to run after Jefferson. So he just kind of fell in line. Again, he worked very closely with Jefferson. It's almost like Jefferson had something on him. They effectively undermined the Washington and Adams administration. So not a great look by Madison. And he sort of bungles us into the War of 1812 with England. And if not for our next president, basically bailed him out and helped him manage the war. The White House was famously burned down, and Dolly Madison had to come to the rescue and rescue the famous George Washington painting. But yeah, and even historians, not just my opinion, Madison wasn't a great president. Book recommendations. Madison's Gift. It's going to, ties him into all the people that he worked with over the history of the country. So it's pretty good. Not a great book, but interesting. I'm going to give you another kind of book dump. This is a kid's book. The kids love this book, and I've actually pulled some of the fun facts from this book for this show. And then you can't leave home without my trusty presidents. And then I have sort of like a encyclopedia for presidents. So it gives you like tons of boring facts, every election and the Electoral College vote count, all that stuff. So you can really get in the weeds with stuff like that. So those are some of the book recommendations. Travel recommendation. I have, again, no time in Virginia, so I've been to Virginia, but never to any of the presidential sites in Virginia. So he's buried at his, I was going to call it a ranch, a plantation in Mount Pelier Station, Virginia. So I have not been there, and I plan to at some point. But because I haven't been there, but I have been to Fort McHenry, right? Site of one of the big battles. That's where the Star-Spangled Banner. If you're near Baltimore, you need to go do this tour. It is terrific. It's so funny. You watch this like super cheesy movie, and at the end, they start playing the Star-Spangled Banner, and then the screen opens up, and you're overlooking the American flag. It's quite moving. I've been there twice, and both times it's got me. So, Fort McHenry, must visit, very important place. And it's also the place where, as the flag changes, so if states are added or subtracted, which I think is going to happen, that's the first place the flag is officially flown, is at Fort McHenry. So it's funny, back in my previous life, I worked in a customer service, and we actually took a lot of calls from Puerto Rico. And when you're 22 and you're in a call center, you do a lot to make yourself get by through the day. So one of our games we used to play is the money used to clear from Banco de Popular, for those of you that were there. And we would try and say it as many times as possible on a call. So if you could say it 100 times in a 5-minute call, that was the goal. But over time, I started talking to the people, because I had no idea anything about Puerto Rico. I was 22, I was a big dope. And I, come to find out they were a U.S. territory. And every time going forward, I always asked about statehood. So I've supported Puerto Rican statehood since 2000 anyway. So hopefully, when that day comes, I'll be right at Fort McHenry for the flag unveiling. All right, well, that's the show. I'm going to add a conspiracy here to the end. And remember, this is just for fun. All right, so James Madison is only 5 feet tall and 100 pounds. And he's got womanly features. He's married to the very foxy Dolly Madison, who's more than half his age. He lives at home with his mom until he's in his 70s. She finally died when she was in her 90s. And his enemies in the press referred to him, they used a word, but my crack research team was too lazy to look it up. But it basically described him as being an hysterical woman. So maybe I'm looking at this through my 2020 goggles, but was James Madison really a woman? Now, before you stop the show and hang up on me as a crackpot, remember, in like the last 6 months, maybe less, we've recently learned that Colonel Pulaski of Fort Pulaski in Savannah, Georgia fame, a Revolutionary War hero, was in fact a woman. So, and maybe some of these founding fathers were up for a good time, right? Rumor has it that Hamilton and John Lawrence and Marquis de Lafayette were involved. So maybe Madison was a woman. And look, I'm not saying we should dig him up, although there is precedence for digging up a president. But I'm not saying it. So that's the end of the show. Sorry. I know I went a little long today. It's my most controversial episode. All right, bye for now.